Welcome to The Explainer. So, let's just jump right in. How many times have you literally told yourself, okay, this Monday I'm finally going to get in shape? Or maybe, this year I'm definitely going to stop procrastinating. You know the drill. We set these goals, we lose momentum, and then we just end up constantly restarting. It is so incredibly frustrating, right? We start out totally full of hope, and then we just sort of slowly drift right back to exactly where we began. Well, today we're breaking down the psychology of exactly why this happens, and more importantly, how you can actually break this vicious cycle once and for all.
But before we get into the solutions, I want to start by asking you a kind of provocative question. What is the most dangerous day of your life? Like, is it the day you fail at something big? The day you lose a job? Or maybe the day someone breaks your heart? I want you to really think about it for a second, because the answer is completely counterintuitive.
The answer is actually day one. And what's really fascinating about this is that it completely flips our whole understanding of fresh starts. You see, day one is dangerous precisely because, well, we've simply had way too many of them. We just keep promising ourselves that this Monday or this new year is finally going to be different. We're endlessly collecting these day ones, all while sitting around wondering why our lives never actually look any different.
So this brings us to a really crucial concept, the day one trap. This is when you are unknowingly training your brain to love the emotional reward of starting more than the actual process of making progress. Think about it. When you start something new, your imagination just instantly rewards you. You picture the amazing body, the wildly successful business, the perfect life, and you get all of that feeling before you've actually done any of the hard work. Starting just feels incredible, and it costs absolutely nothing emotionally. But as we all know, reality simply doesn't work that way.
Let's look at how this timeline actually plays out in real life. On day one, you've got pure excitement and inspiration. But then, you fast forward to day 20, and things start feeling, well, just normal. Maybe even a little tedious. But here's the thing, real growth doesn't happen on day one. Real growth happens way out here on day 47. You know, an ordinary Wednesday where absolutely nothing exciting happens, except for the fact that you just kept going. That is where lives actually change. Not during that initial burst of inspiration, but during the quiet repetition.
All right, so this brings us to section 1, identity over motivation. This is the true key to change.
We spend so much of our lives just waiting around for the perfect moment, the perfect new routine or this magical wave of motivation to wash over us and finally make us disciplined. But honestly, we're looking for the solution in the completely wrong place. As this quote perfectly puts it, discipline doesn't arrive, identity does. Your life doesn't change overnight because, frankly, identity isn't built overnight. It's built in those tiny, ordinary moments that most people completely ignore.
So how do we actually go about building that identity? Well, every single choice you make is essentially a vote cast for who you are becoming. If you hit snooze on your alarm, you just cast a vote for your old self. Wake up anyway? Boom, that's the vote for your new self. Open TikTok instead of studying? Old self. Do that difficult workout even when you're completely exhausted? New self. You are building who you are, thousands of tiny decisions at a time. Every time you restart, you trick yourself into thinking you're making progress. But real progress? That's just surviving those ordinary Tuesdays without throwing in the towel.
And that leads us to bust a truly massive myth. The myth is that motivation creates action. But the reality? Action creates motivation. Just think back to a time when you really forced yourself to go to the gym, when you absolutely didn't want to. I can almost guarantee that 20 minutes into the workout, you were so glad you went. The motivation only arrived after you started taking action, definitely not before it. Being ready isn't a feeling you wait for. Actually, scratch that. Ready isn't a feeling at all. It's a decision. Okay, let's move into our next section. Section 2, comfort versus growth, and that constant internal tug of war.
We all have this really intense internal tug of war happening inside our heads all the time. It's kind of like we have two competing versions of ourselves. One that desperately wants comfort right now and today, and one that wants growth for, say, 5 years from now. But the crucial thing to pay attention to is how these two voices actually sound. The voice of comfort whispers, just rest today. Skip it just this once. You can always start tomorrow. I mean, it sounds incredibly reasonable, doesn't it? It's never telling you to go destroy your life. It just asks for this one tiny compromise. But then growth whispers, keep your promise. You're going to thank yourself tomorrow. The real danger here is that comfort almost always speaks first. And if you listen to it, you end up slowly building a life you never even wanted, just through thousands of quiet, small compromises.
Now, the science behind why this happens is absolutely fascinating. Like, why do our brains crave comfort so badly?
Well, avoiding pain and conserving energy is what literally kept our ancestors alive thousands of years ago. So fast forward to today, and your brain still treats discomfort, things like having a difficult conversation or trying to start a business, like a literal physical danger. Familiarity just feels safe to your brain, even if it's a completely miserable habit. So that heavy resistance you feel when you finally start doing everything right, that's not you being lazy, it's literally just your brain reacting to something that feels unfamiliar.
Let's transition to our next section. Section 3. Confidence is a receipt. You have to earn it after the work.
You see, so many people spend literally years waiting to take action because they genuinely think they need to believe in themselves first. They act like they need to purchase confidence before they can even begin. But I want you to consider this really powerful metaphor. Confidence has always been a receipt, not a purchase. It's such an incredible way to look at it. You only get the receipt, the confidence, after you do the hard work, not before. You simply cannot think your way into confidence. You absolutely have to act your way into it.
Let's break down the mechanical, step-by-step process of how you actually earn that receipt. Think about when you first learned to ride a bicycle. Step 1, you wobble, you fall over, you probably scrape your knees. Step 2, you just keep taking action anyway, even if you are absolutely terrified. Step 3, because you keep acting, you start gathering evidence that you can actually do it. Step 4, that evidence slowly turns into belief. And finally, Step 5, that belief hardens into confidence. You see, you don't wait around for courage. You go out and you generate evidence.
So how do we actually break this cycle of day ones forever? Let's dive into our final section, Section 4, the power of repetition and breaking the cycle. The exact same process that built your old identity and all those old habits is exactly what's going to build your new ones. You have to stop floating. As it says here, conscious rest restores strength, but unconscious escape weakens character. It is just so incredibly easy to drift effortlessly down the river of time, escaping into our phones just because we're bored or afraid or unsure of what to do next. But every single time you escape, you are teaching your brain to run away when things get uncomfortable. If you aren't careful, 10 whole years can disappear simply because you chose to float instead of swimming with intention.
Okay, so let's look at how we actually fix this and start teaching our brain to stay. It's all about making daily deposits into your self-trust account. Step 1, wake up exactly when you said you would. Step 2, complete that difficult workout. Step 3, read the chapter instead of doom scrolling. Step 4, just go have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. These are super ordinary and, yeah, sometimes really boring actions, but every single one of them deposits trust into your mind. They teach your brain that your word actually matters, because at the end of the day, self-trust is the true foundation of every successful life.
The crucial thing here is to start thinking of this process like stacking invisible bricks. Think about it. Builders don't judge an entire house by the very first brick. Farmers definitely don't dig up their seeds every single morning just to check if they're growing. And artists, they don't expect to paint a masterpiece in a single afternoon. Real change is almost entirely invisible. It requires extraordinary patience applied to just ordinary, everyday actions. But if you keep stacking enough of those invisible bricks together, eventually, one day, you're going to look around and realize you are standing inside an entirely new life.
I want to end this explainer with one incredibly provocative question that you should really ask yourself every single evening. Did I keep my word today? If you want to finally change, you have to stop measuring your success by how excited or motivated you feel, or by trying to string together these perfectly flawless weeks. Instead, just hold yourself to this one simple standard. Because if the answer to this question is yes, then you are no longer living on day one. You are finally becoming the person you've been searching for this whole time. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, guys. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. Catch you next time.